Halo, nama saya Ikhram Merican. Saya ada beberapa cadangan yang boleh membantu Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri untuk memajukan dasar kerajaan untuk merangsangkan pasaran hartanah negara. Bagaimana saya boleh sampaikan cadangan ini kepadanya?
HOC ini adalah antara inisiatif kerajaan untuk merangsang pemilikan perumahan di kalangan rakyat Malaysia sebab isu perumahan ini merupakan satu isu yang besar.
In 2019, a program called the Home Ownership Campaign drove the sale of more than 21,000 homes valued at over 13 billion ringgit. The campaign was a huge success and is a classic example of how government policy impacts the real estate market. It goes without saying that government policy plays an important role in supporting the economy. Government policy can help foster entrepreneurship, employment, people's skills, and overall prosperity. What the government says and does can also affect international trade and foreign direct investment.
We are here to discuss about what do Kashmir and palm oil have in common. Now, we do understand that yesterday the Indian edible oil industry body has issued an advisory asking its members not to import palm oil from Malaysia.
Politics, government policies, the economy, and the property market, they're all interrelated if you think about it. Politics influence government policies, and government policies influence the economy, and the economy influences the property market. In order for us to have a stable property market, we need to first have stable politics and a stable economy. It needs to be rock solid. So it'll be very interesting to actually see how Malaysia fares on these counts. Politics in Malaysia is greatly divided. People either love or hate the current government. This division could be mainly attributed to the rising of inequality. Rising inequality may be the single biggest reason why Malaysians rejected a government that was ruling for 61 years over a new but rather queer coalition.
And then, a short 3 months ago, the government changed without going to the ballot box, but through an epic drama that shocked the nation as it unfolded before our eyes. This was unprecedented. As if on cue, almost immediately the country and the world came under attack from a microscopic foe, COVID-19. Again, something unprecedented followed. A movement control order that has lasted over 60 days now came into effect.
This threatens the economy on a massive scale. How will all this affect the property market? In this episode of Jalan-Jalan Cari Rumah, Ikhram and I are not just going to explore how government policies or the economy influences the property market. Hey, come on, anyone can Google that. We want to explore solutions that the government and us as people can look into. We want to bring in leading experts to give us their opinions, their solutions, and we want to bring these solutions to the attention of the Prime Minister.
The real challenge will be getting good experts to offer their solutions and getting this to the Prime Minister's attention. Malaysian politics is full of drama. The things our politicians say and do sit in a wide range between sane and insane, smart and stupid, logical and completely illogical. It may appear that such a range of disparity will create a paradox that sends the country on a downward spiral. However, looking at the past, there is some order in this chaos, or at least the political climate here is not completely bonkers.
Yes, the government has navigated recessions pretty well in the past. Government policy helped shape the country's revival after the commodity shock of 1985 and 86, and the Asian financial crisis in 1997 and 98. Now, according to a report from the IMF, Malaysia's recovery was among the strongest of the Asian crisis economies. In the 2008 global recession, Malaysia was the first country in the region to respond with monetary expansion policies that cushioned the shock. Now, in the current COVID-19 pandemic, Malaysia's bank moratorium was just so swift. The breadth and width of this moratorium has been so impressive. The 250 billion ringgit stimulus is the largest stimulus among Asian countries. These policies took place while the country was still reeling from the aftermath of a shocking change in government. I'm sure we all remember that. And this is simply so impressive.
According to a latest report by the IMF, Malaysia's economy is expected to grow by 9.1% in 2021, making it the fastest expansion among the ASEAN 5.
The ASEAN 5 is a subset of the 5 leading economies within the Association of Southeast Asian Countries, or better known as ASEAN. They comprise of Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines and Singapore. Now, according to my notes, Singapore is the only ASEAN 5 country that is on par scientifically and economically with other developed countries of the world.
We've also demonstrated exemplary character as a nation in 2018 during the first real power transition. The Barisan National Government fell that year with a relatively smooth transition. No riots, no people running amok, nothing crazy. Political stability is definitely strong. Central planning has also been good. On the flip side, there is evidence to show that our macroeconomic excesses fueled by the new economic policy have made us more vulnerable to economic shocks. Some political observers say that the government is too involved in business by way of GLCs and barriers. Licenses, quotas and restrictive regulations hinder entrepreneurship. For our future growth, politicians and the government should step out of the way and allow the private sector to flourish. With the private sector flourishing and the economy back in shape, the property market will rise.
Ikhram, we're not economical or political experts.
That's not entirely true. I've done a masterclass with Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize winning economist, and I've dedicated a lot of my time to understanding economics. I've also read Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations.
We do know that the property market will enjoy positive growth with good governmental and economical policies. So we need to know this. Is the current political climate conducive to economic prosperity? And have government measures during this pandemic been sufficient enough to attain the IMF's predictions of 9.1 GDP growth in 2019? We need expert opinion, buddy.
Sure, I'll be more than happy to give suggestions.
We need to call in real experts.
There are times when I think Guna undermines my expertise.
Who do we know that are actually economic experts?
We have tons of friends in the property market, but economic experts, I don't think we know anyone. But there's this guy who's a fellow at the Institute for Democracy and Economic Affairs. He holds a PhD in economic history. He's written 5 books on economics and tons of research papers. He has a particular expertise in the Malaysian property market and housing policies. He's always being interviewed for his economic opinion. He'd be perfect to help us. I've never spoken to him before, but let's give him a call and see if he'll do an interview with us.
Dr. Carmelo Ferlito, he's a well-known economist. He'll be the best person to speak to with regard to the property market. But can we actually get him to speak with us in such short notice? Ikhram, you've got to use your admirable charms here. Get this interview, man. You can do it.
Dr. Carmelo?
Hello.
Hi, this is Ikhram. My friend Guna and I, we have a property show called Jalan-Jalan Cari Rumah. We're trying to understand how the political and economic climate in Malaysia is going to impact the property market. We need an expert's opinion. Would you be okay to do an interview with us?
Absolutely, yes. I'm pleased to do so.
That'd be perfect. Thank you so much. What do you think needs to be done to improve the political climate?
change the tone of the conversation. I believe that the Prime Minister should take the lead in his hands and take the responsibility to talk about the COVID-19, the political scenario, and not to delegate this to the Minister of Defense or the LDG. We need a higher role of the Prime Minister, I believe.
Aside from that, has the government measures to restore the economy been good so far, in your opinion? How do we stack up with other countries?
But in general, a little bit everywhere, measures have been centered on something that we know, fiscal stimuli, monetary easing. However, I think that this kind of measures fail to appreciate that this kind of crisis we are experiencing is very much different from the economic crisis that we are used to know. And in particular, we don't have a systemic issue with the economy. The economy was forced to shut down. So these kind of traditional instruments will not be useful at all if we don't restore the full capacity of the economic system first.
What more can be done in the immediate future to spur the economy?
Again, sorry if I repeat myself, but I think that what we need is a message of trust and confidence. You can see it now, the restaurants are allowed to operate, but people don't go there. Restaurants are empty. This is because the people feel threatened. They still feel the fear of the virus on one side. On the other side, there is still a climate of uncertainty on what actually can be done.
Now, in your expert opinion, with everything as in the present, Doctor, what is your opinion on the property market per se?
As you know, the property market was, at least for the primary property market, the secondary market was doing a bit better, but the primary market was already coming from a situation of difficulties. So I think that we will observe still a certain dynamism in the secondary market, but the primary will keep on suffering. And will remain probably centered on people with a certain financial capacity, because in a moment of crisis, probably a house can become like a refuge investment, like gold, but probably we are not going to see instead investment from the middle class in this moment, because the purchasing power of the middle class has been eroded.
Does that mean that we are going to see a downtrend in the property market?
We will see a downtrend, but in terms of transactions, but probably not a sharp downtrend in prices. And this is due, I'm talking about the primary market. This is due to the fact that the market in Malaysia is dominated by big players. These big players are more reluctant to eventually bring prices down and have strength to keep a certain pricing policy.
So, Dr. Carmelo, if there's one piece of advice that you could give to our Prime Minister with regards to having the most impact on the property market, what would it be?
I think that I will keep on saying the same. Change the communication strategy and the narrative, send a message of trust and confidence. This will be crucial for the whole economy, but also for the property market.
We should add more depth to this conversation and speak to one more expert.
I agree. Do you know anyone else?
Come on, buddy. You're the wannabe economist and you're so well connected. Come on, Ikhram, rack that brain.
There is one person we could try, Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Kamil. This guy has heavy-duty credentials. He has an undergraduate and master's degree in economics and a PhD in finance. He was also a professor at the Faculty of Economics in IIUM. He has particular expertise in macroeconomics, economics of social issues, and quantitative methods. He's authored books on monetary systems and has wide expertise in consultancy and research. He would be perfect to speak to.
Now, he sounds perfect. Would he actually agree to an interview in such short notice?
I may have an advantage. He's my late father's cousin. I may be able to call him and get him to agree to an interview. Hi, Uncle Ahmad Kamil.
Hello.
My friend Guna and I, we have a property show called Jalan-Jalan Cari Rumah, and we're trying to understand how the political and economic climate is going to affect the property market or its impact on the property market. Would you be okay to do an interview with us?
Okay, sure. It's a simple one, yeah?
Do you think Malaysia's current political climate is conducive for economic prosperity?
Well, in my opinion, it is not conducive. The reason is that for the last couple of years, things have been the political parties have been bickering among themselves, and there's been no much nation building going on. Yeah.
What do you think needs to be done to improve the political climate? What does our government need to do?
Yeah, I would say, so mentioning at least about 4 things need to be done. Yeah. One, we have to move away from partisan politics, race-based politics. That's what I mean. Huh? Number 2, we can only qualified people should be allowed to become politicians. And the third one, as I was mentioning, is that we need to remove the warlords in our political structure. And the fourth one I was mentioning is that the remuneration system and transparency must be increased in the political union, so that people do not see politics as a get-rich-quick scheme. Yeah.
With regards to the economy, have government measures to restore the economy been good? How do we stack up against other countries?
So when you look at the stimulus package, it looked very good. Yeah, 250 billion. That's it's almost like what they say 17 to 20% of the GDP.
Yeah,
that's very big amount,
Yes.
But when you look further deep into it, but most of the money is actually not direct fiscal expenditure, a new direct fiscal expenditure from the government. It's only about 25 billion, a direct injection. The rest are like, moratorium on loans. You actually have taken loans, so they give you 6 months moratorium.
Moratorium, yes.
So that is also counted in the 250 billion. Or you can withdraw from your own savings EPF. That's also counted inside. See? So, in my opinion, the government has to pump in as much as 150 billion, which is about 10% of the GDP. The policy of the government was right. They knew and they acted fast. What the government should do is just pump in another, large amount to the maximum of 150 billion. Even using quantitative easing. But people will always say that will create inflation. Yes, generally, if you simply create money, then it will create inflation. But the problem is the present pandemic, it has already reduced a lot of liquidity in the economy. That's why the government stimulus package was needed. So if you pump in the money with the newly created money, it will actually compensate for that.
Professor, aside from pumping in money and adding on to the stimulus package, what else could be done to spur the economy?
Bankruptcies and foreclosures will go up. Even though you are given a 6-month moratorium, actually it's not going to solve the problem completely. After 6 months, you watch and see a lot of foreclosures will come, a lot of bankruptcies happen. So the government must come in and help mitigate this. The economy needs a debt relief. If you do not give a debt relief, the economy will be stuck for a long time. It will not be able to rejuvenate or get out of the recession. And we need to bring down further the interest rates, make it even cheaper.
With everything as is currently with the economy as is, how do you think the property market is going to fare in the short term?
In the short term, in my it's going to be bad. The reason is, one is property market, relies a lot on the liquidity or the amount of money that is in circulation. Because of the destruction to the liquidity in the system, the property market will also be expected to go down.
Now, Professor, if you could give one piece of advice to the Prime Minister that would have the greatest impact on the property market, what would it be?
So, like if you put a negative interest rate, like what is Denmark is doing, then you can boost because the housing is severely unaffordable in Malaysia. And also, we can follow like Singapore, subsidizing housing even for the citizens for the first 2 homes they buy.
Those were great interviews. Both Dr. Carmelo and Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Kamil shared fantastic insights into the political and economic climate in Malaysia and its impact on the property market. Despite the lousy political perception at the moment, it is believed that the government is combating the pandemic and handling the economic downturn pretty well.
Is it at their ultimate best? That is debatable. And it doesn't help when leaders come out to publicly make a spectacle of themselves with statements such as drink warm water to cure COVID-19 or make TikTok videos during the MCO, or even the latest, tour agents can go back to work but no tour activities are allowed.
The suggestions from Dr. Carmelo and Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Kamil were short, concise and sweet. Definitely worth the Prime Minister's attention. Let's see if we can get it to him.